bringing it to them all day. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Win or lose, we bringing it to you always. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Orange or black, we rebuild the pack. No matter where we at, you know we coming back. Section 336, we on this, so tune in. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Yeah. Welcome to Birdland. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Now, here come the boys from Section 336.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Baltimore sports fans of all ages, welcome to Section 336, the next generation of Baltimore sports podcasting. I forget how this intro goes. It's been too long. As always, I'm joined by the button lover, Josh Roca.
It's all right, Matt. I know we just started, but we're going to need you to take another COVID test. Might need to kick you off this show.
Oh man. If that happens, I'm just going to go home and drink some wine and quit.
Right, you're going to quit for the rest of the year?
Yeah, well, until I change my mind, but I am going to drink some wine.
Well, at least we didn't do a whole bunch of hype and like tweets and videos and stuff promoting you coming back to Section 336 this week after focusing on your dissertation.
Yeah, that was an awkward interview where minutes after they announced that Dez was not playing, a 5-minute interview about how pumped Dez is to play. That was a bit awkward.
But the thing that was even more awkward than that interview video was when they came back to the 4 guys, like Jay Glazer and the other guys, who all get paid and make their money from the NFL. Yeah. And all standing around like, clearly this game shouldn't be played, but we can't say anything that this is just crazy.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we've talked about on here all the time about some of the hypocrisy about some of the rules and and there's times like this where that's so completely exposed, that's so obvious that like it's laughable, but you also get it.
Yeah, NFL employees tweeting pictures of Dez Bryant hugging Cowboys and everything pregame, and then deleting all those tweets as if it didn't happen because that might look bad.
Yeah, people are pretty good now on Twitter, though. I don't know how does everyone take a Snapchat every time someone tweets something? Because now it seems like nothing goes away even after you delete it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy.
There's a bunch of people with Dez Bryant saying he quit. With that photo saved in their phones. There's about 1 million people.
Yeah, except that one's obvious. Saying, I quit. That's an obvious one that, okay, we'll save this to screw with you later.
Yeah, because he's not quitting.
But a picture of Dez Bryant hugging people is like, why did you think that's going to come back to bite the NFL?
Right. Well, yeah, but I think that's newsworthy. Like, if you were in the business of dispensing news, you would dispense news of Dez Bryant, who just tested positive for COVID, hugging people. Right. But if you're in the business of making your owners happy or making your employer happy, yeah, it's probably not a good tweet.
Right. Well, the good news is we're going to focus on baseball tonight.
We got to get into this stuff. There's been some stuff happening.
The winter meetings are now, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. They're virtual, but yeah.
All right, real quick, let's fix your mic. I know we're like a couple minutes into it.
Yeah.
But I always think my room sounds echoey, and I've been talking to someone, you sound really echoey.
I sound echoey?
Yeah. Flip those switches.
All right. I'm on 3. That's the normal one I go to. But we'll try 2. Is that any better?
Yeah, that's a lot better.
All right, we'll stick with 2 tonight.
There we go. Yeah, well, one day we'll figure out what the numbers mean.
Yeah.
And go with the real one.
One day maybe I'll get a real mic.
I know. We'll see. We can get you a real mic. Maybe I'll ship you my spare mic, and we'll get you set down the road. What we need some more. You know how we'll get you a mic is through the 336ers. Go to 336er.com and become a 336er by sponsoring us for $3.36 a month.
Yeah, and
you could do your $1 a month and sponsor like a kid with food, or you could sponsor your favorite Baltimore Orioles podcast.
Yeah, whatever. Wherever you want to, either to save dying puppies or to buy me a mic, whatever.
Right, whatever's important to you.
Wherever your values are.
Exactly.
But yeah, Josh, it's been a while. I've been finishing up my dissertation.
It's
sent, so it's the load off my shoulders, and so I'm free to do this podcast. Free to tell you about why we should have never fired Dan Duquette and trashed Mike Elias. I'm free to do all these things, and I'm pumped to be back.
Your book report took Section 336 down for the longest we've ever been down. We've never missed 2 weeks in a row. We rarely miss 1 week.
It's true. Well, and we're recording this podcast at 11 o'clock p.m., which is probably the latest we've ever recorded a podcast. But it's fine for me.
Outside of like spring training or something. Yes.
Yeah. But it's fine for me because normally my bedtime's at 9 o'clock. But my book report has kept my hours till about 2 a.m. every night. And so now this feels like early. Like I'm ready to go. We can do a 3-hour podcast right now. Let's go.
and you're still teaching virtually, which means no pants. You barely got to get out of bed to do it.
I'm still going to school every day, but yeah.
Yeah, but you still don't have pants.
Yeah, I'm literally now like the only person upstairs in my building who comes to work.
Why do you still go to school?
Because I can't teach with these 2 little kids running around.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And
so you have the choice.
Yeah, I have the choice. And on the down low, I was spending a lot of my time working my dissertation at school where it was quiet.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever just cough a bunch when someone walks by so people then just leave you alone?
No, I think they would send me home and that would defeat the purpose.
Okay, all right,
You
gotcha.
can't cough in our society today. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
When I cough myself, I look at myself weird, like get away from me to myself.
Do you know what, right? Do you ever like wake up not feeling great and it's just a normal like cold because it's winter and you're like, oh, I've got the COVID?
Yeah. I was talking to a person at work today. I hope they don't listen to the show. But their whole theory was no one has symptoms until they test positive. Like they think this whole thing is like a mental thing where once you test positive, they're coming down with coughs and sore throats. But if they never test positive, they would never have any symptoms.
Yeah, I think there is something to that. I don't think that's quite how it works, but I think the amount of stress that we've been under over this definitely adds to sickness.
Yeah.
And feeling out of it.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
No,
but hey,
we haven't been on since, like Thanksgiving?
No. Now, there's vaccines now.
Yeah, my wife and I got through a big fight, and I couldn't talk about it all on the podcast. So I had to survive it all on my own.
Over the vaccine?
No.
Or you mean just a general fight?
Just over pumpkin pie. You know, Josh, every year Mom buys pumpkin pie. You're the only person who ever eats it, and you weren't around for Thanksgiving to eat it.
Pumpkin pie, all right, yeah. My Thanksgiving food was not like Thanksgiving food either.
Did you have pumpkin pie?
No, because Mandy doesn't eat pumpkin pie, so she didn't buy pumpkin pie. And when
no one eats pumpkin pie at Judy's house, but she bought pumpkin pie.
I went to Publix to buy pumpkin pie, and they didn't have any. All they had was one cherry pie in the store, and I bought a cherry pie
at a grocery store right before Thanksgiving.
Because I went Wednesday night. The day before, like late at night. But here was the big problem.
Bought up all the pumpkin pie. Yeah.
I like pumpkin pie. I can't eat pumpkin pie without Cool Whip. There was no Cool Whip in the store. I looked for that as well.
No Cool Whip? What kind of grocery stores are you guys running down there in Florida?
The best ones, but no Cool Whip and no toilet paper. I don't know if the two have anything to do with each other, but they were out of both of them down here.
No, but anyway, so no one touches the pumpkin pie, right? And so I go over to my mom's house.
So you took it home?
The next day, and my mom's like, no one touched the pumpkin pie. How about you take it home? I'm like, Mom, I can't take the pumpkin pie home. Emily won't like it. Emily doesn't approve. She doesn't eat pumpkin pie. I don't really like pumpkin pie. No one likes pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin pie is great. But I like pumpkin pie.
Of course, Mom knows how to push my buttons. She's like, okay, I'm just going to throw it away. And at this point, I have to step in. I can't let her just throw the pumpkin pie away. So I take the pumpkin pie home so it can sit in my fridge.
You made a mistake. You needed to steal a trick from Dad, who was once given pumpkin pie from his mom, and then he put it on the roof of the car and drove away with it on the roof. And then had to go back and find the ran over Tupperware with tire marks in it. So I remember that from being a kid. So that's what you should have done, is left it on the roof. There's no way it would have made it over the Bay Bridge, and you would have been in the clear.
Well, it makes sense it's happened because no food travels more than pumpkin pie after Thanksgiving because nobody wants it. It gets passed along from home to home.
No, you're acting like pumpkin pie is like a fruit cake or something.
Yeah, it is. It's the fruit cake of the Thanksgiving holiday.
No, the cranberry sauce would be the fruit cake of the.
No way.
Of the Thanksgiving holiday.
No way.
Or maybe the yams.
You're insane. But anyway, I took it home. Emily got mad because she has pumpkin pie in her fridge. The kids don't even eat the pumpkin pie. Faye eats everything, won't touch the pumpkin pie. So I had to eat a whole pumpkin pie by myself. I didn't even like it out of principle that I was justified for bringing it home. And then I got a tummy ache.
So your fight was over pumpkin pie.
Yeah, bringing the pumpkin pie home. Yeah. And we have this same fight every single year. Every single year for the past 10 years.
Then why don't you stop bringing the pumpkin pie home?
Because Gigi will throw it away. I can't just let her throw it away pumpkin pie.
But you don't like it.
But it's a waste. It's a principle thing. I don't want food wasted.
Gift it to a neighbor.
Gift pumpkin pie to a neighbor?
Yeah.
It's like gifting a fruitcake to the neighbor. No, I'm not doing that.
I think you're wrong on this. I think most of the world, most of America likes pumpkin pie.
Okay, you're telling me if I took a pumpkin pie to my next door neighbors and said Happy Thanksgiving and here's a pumpkin pie the day after Thanksgiving, they'll be excited to see it?
Yes, it's pumpkin pie.
But only if I bring Cool Whip too, right?
What's your favorite pie? But yes, you need Cool Whip on pumpkin pie.
I guess traditional apple pie.
Okay, all right. That's okay.
All right. I want to get into Mike Elias. We're wasting time.
All right. Well, I was just going to ask you, do you like sweet potato pie? Because I didn't know what sweet potato pie was until I saw it at Publix, and I picked it up thinking it was pumpkin pie.
No, it's not pumpkin pie.
No. Why would anyone buy a sweet potato pie?
No, sweet potato pie is like something you eat as part of the course. It's not even like a dessert. It's like its own.
No, it looks just like pumpkin pie. It's a dessert thing.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't recall ever having sweet potato pie. We weren't sweet potato pie.
No, I'm wondering if it's a Southern thing, Florida thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to talk Mike Elias, or should we just go for pie discussion for an hour?
No, we can do that next week.
Okay. All right. We got some Oriole news this week.
Yeah, we're probably done with Orioles. I mean, the Orioles will make a selection in the Rule 5 draft this week.
Maybe they seem to be getting rid of people, not signing people.
No, they will. What they get rid of is anyone who costs more than $1 million. But they'll sign people who are making league minimum. So we'll get someone in the Rule 5 draft. I guarantee that.
All right. Hey,
yeah.
Who tweeted this yesterday? I want to thank the Orioles for the opportunity the past 2 years, my teammates, coaches, and community for all the memories. I'm excited for this upcoming year with the Reds as a team that I started playing ball with as a kid in North Clayton, Georgia. Hashtag Big Red Machine.
Oh, who's playing with the Reds? I don't know. I wasn't even paying attention. Is that Alberto?
Orioles for the past 2 years, now for the Reds.
Well,
I stumped you. Where's your show prep?
Oh, I was focused on these middle infielders. You're not talking about a middle infielder. You're talking about,
this is an outfielder.
You're talking about an outfielder. Oh, yeah.
The face of the organization last offseason.
Very good at MLB The Show. Very good at MLB The Show. Mr. Dwight Smith Jr.
Yeah, Mr. Dwight Smith Jr. is now a Red.
Yeah. I knew that. Good riddance.
Yeah, we don't need him.
Yeah, that's yeah.
All right. So, what direction were you going with this?
Well, I mean, there were 3 significant moves. You know, looking into this season and kind of looking forward, the weakness of this team is the infield. We have a plethora of solid outfielders, but our infield seems to be lacking. And so over the past couple of weeks, since I've been working on my book report, the Orioles have progressed to get rid of 3 of our infielders, a third baseman, a shortstop, and a second baseman. But Josh, as you pointed out, at least we kept our first baseman, Chris Davis, that we got rid of.
Well, we also kept our first baseman, Ryan Mountcastle, and our first baseman, Trey Mancini.
Yeah. But no, I want to talk about each of these moves kind of at a micro level, like how the Orioles will replace the production and what it means to lose these guys. And then we can talk about maybe Elias's bigger plan here with these 3 guys. The first one, and we'll go in order of when this happened. The first person to be released was Renato Nunez. Here's a guy who a couple years ago led the team in home runs. I think it was second home runs last year. This past year was, I think, 4th or 5th in offensive WAR. He's fifth in offensive WAR. The only people who had a better offensive WAR than him were DJ Stewart, Santander, Mountcastle, and Iglesias. So he didn't have a bad year this year. Offensive WAR 3.5. We know his defense is lacking. We know he strikes out a lot. We know he doesn't walk as much as we would like. But a power-hitting offensive contributor in Renato Nunez.
Yep.
And we let him walk in his first year of arbitration. He was going to make, I don't know, a couple $1 million. And I guess they tried to make a trade, but in the end, we just let him walk for nothing.
Right. I don't mind this move. I think it's really important as you build a team to focus on defense, especially when you're going to have young pitchers. And when I think about those Oriole teams that started to win in 2012, 2014, 2016, defense and the bullpen were the key to those teams. And I think in order to bring up these young pitchers and give confidence, you need defense behind them. So I can understand passing on Nunez to get a better defender.
And Nunez, I mean, part of the question is, and I agree with the defense stuff. He's bad defensively. So the question is, can he be a DH-only kind of player? And so then the question becomes, is there room for Renato Nunez at DH? And I would argue you could hide him for another year. You could make it work for another year.
You could, but is it worth it? Does adding him as a DH role give you anything, or do you get more with him as a DH without him, and kind of giving Trey and Mountcastle time off and stuff and as DH?
Yeah, I get it. I get it, and you get more flexibility without Renato Nunez. So I wasn't shocked by it. I don't hate it. I wasn't like every other Orioles podcaster who 100% saw this coming and love Mike Elias for it. And we'll talk about some Orioles podcasters later, and just Orioles Twitter, who praise Mike Elias for trading for Jose Iglesias. Oh, it's so smart. Get the defense on a good deal. And then he trades Jose Iglesias. Oh, he's so smart for trading Jose Iglesias. Like, the dude can do no wrong.
There is a lot of people who really want to just suck up, and they're all in on trust the process.
Yeah, and they act like we didn't go to the playoffs between 2010 and 2020. They act like we didn't go to the playoffs 3 times and won a division in that time. Right. Everyone forgets about that time existed. But no, the Renato Nunez thing, the only thing that bothers me about it is this is a bad rebuilding team. And I don't understand how on a bad rebuilding team there's not room for Renato Nunez. Like, Renato Nunez is better than guys currently on the roster, and not just Chris Davis. He's better than Pat Valaika.
Right.
He's better than, I would argue he's better than Chris Shaw. I would argue he's better than Ramon Arias. And then we get to the pitchers, like, I would argue he's better than Cole Sulser and Travis Lakin and some of these other guys.
Right,
There's just a lot of bad guys on our baseball team. And I have a hard time saying to myself that Pedro Alvarez deserves to be cut because we don't have room on the 40-man for him when we still have room for Pat Valaika. I don't really understand that.
Well, let's say, maybe the Orioles played too well last year, and Elias was upset that he didn't get the number 1 overall pick. Don't buy that?
No, I mean, I buy that he's not really trying to win.
No, what if he thinks he can bring in? I'm sure he looked at the free agency class and thought he could bring in a better defender for the corner.
Yeah, I think so.
It's got to be. You're not going to roll with who we have currently.
Yeah, I think the versatility, like Pat Valaika can play more than one position, right? He can play second base, he can play third base. In a pinch, he can play shortstop, he can play first base. In a pinch, he can play a corner outfield position. Renato Nunez cannot do any of those things. He can barely play third base, his primary position. But so you get versatility, and you also get, like, you could fill someone in that 40-man roster spot who's making league minimum, and he was set to make a couple $1 million. So you also save a couple $1 million, which I'm sure is part of the conversation as well. And again, and we'll talk about kind of what this means bigger picture, but I never had Renato Nunez penciled in 2023, or at least he was never penned in. If it was anything, it was penciled in very lightly. But he was never, like, we never talked about Renato Nunez as being a centerpiece of the 2023 team, right? Like, that was never a thing.
Right.
So
all right. So what do you think? You think we signed Justin Turner?
Yeah, I don't think so. Well, maybe, and I'll talk about why we might in a minute. But yeah, I don't hate the move, and I 100% get it. But I also was really surprised. You know what the part of the thing is with all these moves? Everyone's so praising Mike Elias for everything, and I push back against it a little bit. It's like at work. Like, we're doing virtual instruction, and to be honest, it's a little bit of a pain. But, like, we don't have to deal with classroom management, and just in general, it's, from a teacher perspective, it's easier to do virtual learning than it is in person. In person, it's harder. But, like, teachers just complain about everything, right? Mm-hmm. Teachers complain about virtual. Teachers complain about in person. If it was a perfect world, they'd find something to complain about. And so I just feel like often when I'm teaching, like, I just complain to fit in. Like, I just start, yeah, it's the worst. Oh, I hate it. Oh, yeah, we get no respect. Like, I just kind of do it to fit in, even though I don't think about it at all. I don't agree with that at all. And I feel like that's supposed to be how Oriole fandom does, too. Like, we're supposed to grumble and complain about all these moves. And it's just a little bit upsetting that everyone is, like, slurping everything Mike Elias does. It's a little bit confusing for me, because I thought as sports fans, we're supposed to be kind of negative and pessimistic and skeptical.
And it's also prematurely. You're praising things before you even see the other shoe drop. And you can't really judge any of these moves without seeing how it goes, because you still have to put someone at third base. So you got to wait and see. Who knows? It might end up. It's a bad move if the person costs more money and is less productive that you end up putting at third base.
Yeah, I mean, right now the guys, and that's the other thing too, though. When you lose Renato Nunez, unlike Jose Iglesias, you don't need to fill his roster spot with anyone in particular. Like, the third baseman right now is Rio Ruiz, and then you can start having conversations about Pat Vallejo or Raylan Bannon or this new guy they picked up, Yomer Sanchez. But they're not missing a position because he didn't have a position in Nunez. So but it's weird, right? To just cut your lead-in home run hitter. Right. For nothing. It's just kind of weird. For first year of arbitration, it's just kind of weird.
It is. And it's weird. You would think maybe you could sign him and then look at trading him. But also, free agency is weird this year to begin with. And we don't really know how all that's going to be shaken out yet. Maybe you can put Chris Davis over there again.
Yeah.
Let him play third base.
Yeah. But, it's still, like, I don't think Ruiz is the answer long term. And
wasn't Mountcastle playing some third base?
Yeah.
Weren't they trying that in the minors?
Yeah, well, that was his. I mean, he was originally drafted as a shortstop. They moved him to third base. He played third base for forever until they decided recently to move him to second base in the outfield. Yeah.
Maybe what we all don't know is that he's working on third base through the offseason.
Well, it would help our team tremendously if he turned into a halfway decent third baseman.
or any fielder. At any position.
So he doesn't have to clog up the left field. Though, again, I thought he was pretty impressive last year at left field. All right, so
Nunez gone.
Yeah. The other one, just real quick, Hanser Alberto. People were more upset by Hanser Alberto, I think, in some ways, than Renato Nunez, which I was like, I don't know. I never looked at Hanser Alberto as a better player than Renato Nunez. But
Hanser Alberto... People liked Hanser Alberto the same way they liked Joey Ricard, the same way they liked Nate McLouth. All these just like, they like these guys.
Fringe guys, yeah.
They like fringe guys that look like they shouldn't be on a baseball team.
Yeah.
And fans fall in love with those people.
Yeah, I agree. So everyone kind of saw that one coming, and that was.
Yeah, I didn't see any reason to give him more money.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's not. He's just a good average player, right? He's not exceptional defensively. He's not an exceptional hitter. I guess maybe. I mean, the thing I liked about Hanser Alberto is baseball can be boring sometimes. And Hanser Alberto, if he's at bat, you just got to watch two pitches, and he's doing something. Like, he's not waiting around. He's not taking a couple pitches. Like, he's swinging first pitch. He's trying to make contact no matter where the ball is. So, from a fan perspective, that was fun.
Right. But he's not a guy. I mean, he's young. He's only 8 years old, but he's not a guy that, like, none of these guys that the Orioles cut have anyone jumped on and signed. You know, I guess Dwight Smith Jr. is the first Oriole to go sign somewhere else.
Yeah, and
so it's not like there's a demand for these guys.
Right, because the Orioles would have traded them if they could. Like,
true.
You know, Mike Elias is working the phones and trying to trade these guys before he DFA'd them, and so and so I mean I think Nunez and Alberto will find a home, probably on a major league contract. But again,
right.
I get it.
And that's again where we're still waiting out to see how free agency is for that type of thing.
The other move I think that was surprising, and this is the one that fan reaction really got me. Like I really understood Nunez and I really understood Alberto. Like I get why you don't want to resign those guys. Jose Iglesias, Josh, you mentioned before about the importance of good defensive alignment when you're bringing up these young pitchers. Kind of a veteran shortstop to kind of groom the other infielders. Like a shortstop's a very important position in the field. And so Jose Iglesias had just a monster year last year offensively as well. So Josh, we ended up trading Jose Iglesias to the Angels for Garrett Stallings, who I think is like our number 26 prospect.
Yeah, it's more.
And Jean Pinto, who is like a 18-year-old international signing guy. Yeah.
This one was weird because I think he was only making $2 or $3 million. He wasn't making a whole lot. We picked up his option.
Just picked up his option. Yeah.
And he seemed like the type of guy that you would build your infield around. And not like he's only 30 years old, so he's not an old guy. So you would think he's the guy who could help out in the rebuild. Because you don't want to just put just a bunch of young guys out there. You want a veteran out there. You want a guy who can be the quarterback of the infield. That's generally your shortstop. Iglesias made a lot of sense for that.
Yeah, especially when our other options are, I mean, Richie Martin, who we don't know if he's going to be healthy to start the year.
Right.
Pat Vallejo, who's terrible. Other guys who have not had a lot of experience playing shortstop. So there's not like another shortstop on the 40-man who is clearly a shortstop, right? There's a bunch of utility guys that could play shortstop in a pinch, but besides Martin, who we don't know if it's healthy, there's not a shortstop on there. So that's a hole in our roster.
When's Bannon ready? Not this year?
Well, and he's not a shortstop. He's more of a third base, second base,
okay,
utility guy. And I don't know if anyone really sees him as being an everyday player as much as a
all right
kind of platoon.
What about, isn't Gunnar a shortstop?
Yes.
All right. He's nowhere near ready, right?
Yeah, I mean, Gunnar is one of our top prospects. He's up to now number 6, just behind Ryan Mountcastle, and shortstop, but like he's 19.
All right. So is he as good as Manny Machado?
And we don't even know if he's going to stay at shortstop. So.
Right.
So there's no one as far as infield.
That's ready.
Yeah, Vavra is a guy we got in the trade recently, who's a shortstop. And again, I you don't know about these guys. And so, I mean, what's going to happen is the Orioles are going to sign
a veteran.
Yeah, the Orioles are going to sign a shortstop. But the return is weird too. Like, here's the write-up. Can I just read you? Tell me how you feel about this. So Garrett Stallings was the big piece. Like the other guy was, and I get, Mike Elias is doing all these throw-in international signings to build up his international,
which he needs because we got nothing there.
Because he has no bodies. Yeah, he's trying to get bodies. So the big guy we got in the trade was Garrett Stallings, who was their 21st prospect, our 26th prospect. Here's his write-up.
Isn't that weird? It's been a while since we've traded and brought someone in who has gone down in a worse prospect list.
Yeah,
from 21 to 26. That's kind of a cool state of our farm system right now.
Yeah, that's a cool sign. That's a good sign when they're lower on your list than they were on the other guy's list. But here's his write-up. Tell me how excited this gets you. As a high schooler in Virginia, this is from MLB.com. As a high schooler in Virginia, Stallings showed polish on the mound, but not enough stuff to really register on the draft radar. So he went to the University of Tennessee. He was pretty much the same pitcher with the Volunteers, but this time with 3 years of solid track record in the Southeastern Conference on his resume. That led to the Angels taking him in the 5th round of the 2019 draft, though after not pitching that summer after a heavy college workload and the 2020 shutdown, he never threw an official pitch for the Angels before he was traded to the Orioles in the Jose Iglesias deal. None of Stallings' offerings jump off the page, but he is legitimate four-pitch mix. His fastball will top at 93 and more often comes at 88 to 91. So an 88 to 91 mile per hour fastball. But he commands the pitch well and he has a ton of sink. His changeup, which has similar movement, plays off it nicely and he sells it well. His curve got better during his junior year. So, I mean, it's a guy with...
All right.
He reminds
Potential.
me of Wells, right? Of Alexander Wells.
Yes.
Who has good command, not great stuff, and everyone kind of wonders at some point...
If he gets the right coach, he can, right. If we get the right coach, if we get him in the right minor system, this guy can really blow up. In a positive, not a negative.
But I see more negative. I mean, I don't know how, and maybe you can, but how many guys are successful when their average fastball is 89 miles per hour? You don't see that a ton. But clearly Mike Elias likes them, right? And so this is what we're talking, and you mentioned before about, like, we don't know, like, we're crowning Mike Elias before he's done anything. All he's done is tanked. And so we're giving a lot of credit for tanking well. Props to you, Mike Elias. You know how to tank.
I could tank well. It doesn't take much to tank.
Yeah. Now, if Garrett Stallings turns into be even just a number 5 rotation piece, he's a starter, right? So even if he turns into number 5 rotation piece, and you get him as a number 5 starter for a bunch of years for Jose Iglesias, for 1 year for Jose Iglesias, that was a great trade. So, but we won't know for 3 or 4 years if the Garrett Stallings trade was a good trade. So a lot of the deals Elias is making, you won't know, and you better hope this works because he's putting all his kind of eggs in this rebuild basket, and it can't go on forever. Like 2023 is when it has to happen. But that's fine for Jose Iglesias. Like from that standpoint, Jose Iglesias wasn't going to be here in 2023. So if your argument is, well, he wasn't going to be a part of our championship team anyway, so let's get a couple of talented pieces for him, fine. But A, the pieces aren't that talented, and B, Josh, this team, again, with the loss of Nunez, with the loss of Alberto, with the loss of Iglesias, like we've gotten worse, right? We haven't replaced those guys with anybody, so we've gotten worse, I think, overall.
Right. Now, Elias did say in today's virtual winter meetings that he is out there and he's trying to bring in a shortstop. And he said he's trying to bring in a shortstop and more competition for our rotation.
Yeah, first of all, the rotation stuff, I don't really get that at all. What kind of competition? Like, we have a lot of pitchers.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same thing. I'm like, I'm okay with our rotation right now.
Yeah, I mean,
the shortstop, I don't understand.
We have Cobb, we have Means, we have Aiken, we have Kramer, right? Those are all guys who pitched well last year. Then we have this crop of young pitchers who are coming up. That's 4, right? But then we also have guys we just added the 40-man. Bruce Zimmerman, Alexander Wells, Zach Lothar. I mean, now I'm up to, 7 or 8. So, and then you add in guys who are like fringe starters, like Jorge Lopez. Like, and now we're trying to add more starters. And if you look at our minor league pitching staff, our AAA staff, and AA staff are going to be legit. So,
and
I don't think
and you don't want to mess that up. You don't want to put anyone in there that gets in the way of their progression.
Yeah, and it sounds like he's looking for kind of a 1-year Wade LeBlanc, Tommy Malone type guy.
Right, something to...
Yeah, I don't really understand that.
What, compete with Alex Cobb?
Yeah, to take a roster spot away from Wells or Lothar, I guess. That's your motivation?
I don't know.
The only motivation is you hope to do another Malone situation, a Tommy Malone situation, where you have him for half a year and then you trade him for something.
Right.
Here's the quote about the shortstop from Mike Elias. And to me, and I read all the Mike Elias quotes. #show prep. I read all the Mike Elias quotes. Here is the one quote that stood out to me about the shortstop. He said, "This is part of why we did the trade. Above all, we're looking to raise the level of talent in the organization. Iggy is and was great, but that opportunity came along, and we're in the middle of the offseason in the winter when you can sign players and trade for players. It's not like an in-season trade. So we're going to be looking to backfill there to stabilize our team, to give us another opportunity to hopefully make a savvy addition that will ultimately net us some long-term benefit. And in the meantime, the young shortstops we have climbing through the minor leagues will get another year closer, if not here." So what Mike Elias said there is he's going to try to sign a veteran shortstop to then trade to get more younger talent, just holding on until the younger players like Gunnar Henderson are ready.
But I don't think here's my only problem with trading him is did he look first at the shortstops that are available? Because when I look at the free agent shortstops for this season, it's Marcus Semien, who's 30 years old, out of our price range. Didi Gregorius, 31 years old, out of our price range, I would think. Aldriton Simone, 31 years old. Freddie Galvez, 31-year-old. Jensen Guzman, who's 22 years old. I don't even know how much playing time he got with the Royals, if any. Like that's who MLB lists as the available free agent shortstops. None of those guys stand out unless you're going to spend the money for a guy like Didi Gregorius. I don't see any of those guys meeting the Mike Elias description of a veteran talent that's better. I mean, what do you think? You see anything?
I mean, the Hechavarria is interesting to me. I think that the top three are Semien, Simmons, and Gregorius. And I think all those three out of our range. But Jordy Mercer or Andini Hechavarria, like I think those two guys, or even like a Freddie Galvis. But yeah, I think you're looking for a guy in his early 30s who you can sign for a 1 year, maybe option for a second, to have a similar deal that you did to Jose Iglesias.
Which then goes back to, well, why did you trade the guy who you already had in the deal that was the right type of player? You know? It's just...
Well, why does Mike Elias want him? Why did Mike Elias want Jose Iglesias?
To be that defender, I guess just a placeholder.
To then trade.
That he can then trade. Okay, so I see what you're saying. You're saying Iglesias we traded because whenever any of these veterans get to the point that another team wants them, we trade them. Because that's the point.
And that's what Elias said. And the reason we trade Iglesias is so we can sign another guy, and we have room to sign another guy, so we can trade him.
Gotcha.
I think that's Elias's quote.
Right. Except you gotta bring one of these guys in that you can get cheap enough to fit into your budget.
Yes.
That's also talented enough to help your team, and more importantly, I guess, be able to trade in a year or two.
Yeah, and that's the brilliance, though, Josh, of the if you can do it again. This was the brilliance of the Iglesias deal. The 2 years, but you had a team option for a year. So if it didn't work out year one, you're done. But it worked out, so you do a year two, trade him. No,
and we've seen Elias have good luck with signing people for the veteran minimum and then trading them. We've seen it with a couple pitchers, and we've seen it with Iglesias. We see that. It's a move he definitely does during the rebuild. It's just all that talk of last season and is the start of the upswing. I want to start seeing some results.
Right. This does feel like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back type deal.
Right, and it's like as fans, we saw 2020 as a crappy year, but at least a year where we got to make more progression. My concern with a move like this, until I see, I'm going to hold out judgment until I see the other foot drop, until I see what he signs, how he brings it together. But my fear is that Mike Elias looks at it more as 2020 was a year off, and now we're back on course and I'm not at that point where I thought that was the next year in progression. We want good defense. We want to bring up Adley Rushman this year. We want to move forward, and I don't see that yet. I still holding out time, but I want to see progress forward, not step back, step back, step back.
Yeah, I think Elias is not with you on that. I think Elias is still on, and he said it. I'm on the talent acquisition, which is the same thing he said the first day he walked in to the Orioles job, the Orioles position.
Right.
And so I think he's still in that same mode of thinking.
Right. But this is year 3 of Mike Elias, right?
Right.
You can't be going when you hire someone to come in and on a business sense, come in and you name someone a CFO because you want to sell the company, or a CEO, and their role is to prepare your company to be sold. You don't give them 5 years to get it down and ready to be sold. I'm not trying to say it's a bad analogy with Oriole fans so afraid that the Orioles are going to be sold and moved to Nashville. But I'm saying you bring someone in, you can't give them a huge window to tear down. The farm system has gotten better. It's time to start getting better. Did you see Deadspin had a great article end of last week about how you can build a baseball team that doesn't suck for under $100 million? And they used the Orioles as an example, because the Orioles are just getting rid of salaries. And I think when the article was written, the Orioles were around $40 million. And their whole point of the article was if you add another $30 to $40 million to this team of veteran players on 1 to 2 year deals, suddenly you're back in with playoff contention. And I think you could do that and not hurt your rebuild. And I think that's an interesting approach.
I mean, the other side.
Aren't we tired of being told wait?
The other side would argue, are you suffering COVID fatigue and rebuild fatigue, Josh?
I am suffering rebuild fatigue, yes.
Yeah,
our team already sucked. We've seen the farm system get better. I know there's promise in the farm system. But you don't always have to keep taking steps back. It's time to start moving forward. You're not going to hit that 2023 World Series if in 2023 you're still trading to acquire pieces. I don't have the patience that Mike Elias has until I get that perfect star to build around. And my fear is that the Angelos family might not have that as well. And that might be why the reason Mike Elias gets away with this is I'm going to go into my 3rd year of tearing the team down, but don't worry, I'll keep the team under $50 million. And as long as the salary is down, he gets away with putting a crappy team on the field. And I think we've accepted it, and I'm not ready to accept another pointless season of waiting until the end to see if we get the number 1 draft pick. I'm tired.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple ways to go with that. On the one hand, I think Mike Elias had to build this organization kind of from scratch, pretty much. There was no international thing happening. Our minor league system was one of the worst in baseball. That doesn't turn around overnight.
Yes, except it isn't overnight. Right now, we are in the number 8th farm system in baseball.
Yeah. Right.
So
I think also what's wrong with that $100 million theory is it keeps you. It feels like 2000 to 2010 Orioles. It keeps you perpetually in 3rd place. Where what Mike Elias is trying to do is he's trying to build a team that can compete year in and year out with the Yankees and Red Sox, and that takes that you have to be the Rays. you have to have the best farm team in baseball almost every year to keep pace with them. And
but what else do the Rays do? The Rays also invest in veterans,
right?
For where they need them.
But yeah, because they're good and they're ready to compete. I think we'll get there. And Josh, I still think we're on me and you and Mike Elias, we're all on the same page. It's still 2023. None of this impacts 2023 in any way, shape, or form. And I think this coming year is going to be exciting and fun. Who cares? I mean, were you tuning in to watch Renato Nunez or Hans Alberto?
No, and that's what I'm saying. Those moves don't bother me. Iglesias worries me a little bit.
But still, they'll find a veteran shortstop to take his place, and you won't know the difference.
Good. That'd be great.
Yeah, because you're going to enjoy watching Austin Hayes and Ryan Mountcastle and Trey Mancini.
No, but that's
and
my
Santander. And these young pitchers like Dean Kramer and Zach Lothar.
And that's my concern. And my concern is that Elias focuses so much on tearing down that those young guys don't get to come up and get their starts in. If he's holding them all back to wait and wait and wait until he's ready, that's my fear. Is I don't want to keep all these guys in the minors and suddenly, 2023, we get rid of the entire Orioles and we're just going to bring the Norfolk Tide up. And they're going to be the Orioles. I want to see what's going to excite me this year is seeing those young guys.
Yeah. Me
if
too.
You're tearing down, you might not be bringing those young guys up. And that's my concern.
Yeah.
Are you focused on growth or more tearing down?
Yeah, I agree. But Josh, and this is where Mike Elias has his reputation and where it will come, where all this we'll find out if Mike Elias is the man for the job, in that his ability to develop players, right? Like this is his thing.
Yes.
He brought in all the gurus, the pitching development guru, who's now also our pitching coach, and his whole thing is development. We heard about it over at Bowie Bay Sox last year, at all the development that was happening. Apparently, Adley Rutschman is now the #1 catcher in all of baseball just for spending a few months in Bowie with special training.
I saw that. I see many people say that, if you bring him up in the majors, he's the best catcher. Then bring him up to the majors is what I say. If that's true, put him behind the plate on opening day. I know I'm trusting the process. I'm trusting Mike Elias. But I also understand that his process has not been proven yet. He was part of the team in Houston. He wasn't running the show. He needs to prove it, and he's really focused on proving it. He has not proven that he can build a team that will then be able to compete with the Yankees and the Red Sox for years. I know that's his goal. I know that's what this process is about. But I am going to get a little nervous while I'm waiting the process out.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what happens in 2022 when he's ready, or even next offseason, maybe, when he's ready to start signing some free agents and how big the purse strings will be. Because maybe one can hope you're saving money now to spend it later, right? But you do hope, Josh, that hopefully too many fans don't go your route and get so turned off by the rebuild that they're not around when we come back and start winning again. But no, I think this past year was really fun because we saw Ryan Mountcastle and a bunch of other young players. I think we're at that stage now where young players from our minors, and by the way, we haven't seen any of Mike Elias's drafted guys. These are all Duquette guys who we've seen in the majors thus far.
People don't want to admit that, but yes.
Duquette trades and Duquette drafts are the guys you're excited about in the majors.
Yeah. It's just like during Duquette's success, we credited on this podcast Andy McPhail a lot.
Yeah.
And people would get upset about that.
Yeah. Now people get upset if we say anything good about Duquette and how he was part of his playoff teams. Yeah.
When Mike Elias went to the Astros, were the Astros in a worse position or a better position than when he came to the Orioles?
Oh, I think it's probably about the same. I mean, they were the worst team in baseball. They got 2 or 3 #1 picks.
It took him 6 years until the Astros won the World Series.
Yeah.
Are you ready for a 6-year rebuild?
Well, when do you define the start of the rebuild? When Dan Duquette traded Manny Machado, is that the start of the rebuild?
No. It is when Mike Elias came.
Yeah, it's not 6 years. It's not going to be 6 years. Because Rodriguez, Hall, Kerstedt, Rutschman, all those guys will be up before that. And all those guys can't be up, and we're still terrible.
Right. You and I have been projecting a 5-year. 2023 would be 5 years because he came in 2019.
So 4 years.
So that would be 4 to 5 years.
I guess 5 years.
Something like that. Yeah. This isn't a math podcast. But
Clearly.
yeah, 5 years. But you know what? I'd have to look up the Astros record. If they won the World Series in 2017, what was the Astros records those years before?
Right. And was it an overnight turnaround? Like did they go from being, a 90-loss team to then you hit the switch, all these young players could come up, and it's also
I kind of think they did that.
Yeah.
Because I remember Sports Illustrated declaring them as the team.
Yeah.
When it kind of was out of the blue. But I'm going to try to look that up.
You also had a situation a few years ago where the Royals, where all those guys came up. We're seeing it almost now, the same thing with the Cubs, where you have all these guys, their contracts are up because they were all brought up from the minors again. They just let Schwarber go because they couldn't afford him, because all these young players came up at the same time, and that's when they made the World Series runs. And it seems like with the Orioles, though, just based on now, they're going to be spread out. Like Mountcastle's already up. Rutschman will be up in a couple years.
Right.
Josh, you think he's up for opening day? But
I want him up for opening day. I think realistically he's up next. I think realistically he's up in the summer. I think June, July. I want him though opening day. All right, I pulled up the Astros. In 2012, they won 55 games. 2013, 51. 2014, 70, 86, 84. So that's a nice progression.
Yeah.
And then 101 in the World Series.
Yeah, and then the big.
But then since then, 103 and 107. But 2020, they really sucked. They only got 29.
Yeah, but your $100 million plan, whatever that was you're talking about from the article, that's like building an 82-win team every year, which is one way to go.
Yeah.
Or would you rather kind of suck for a while and then go for a run of 100-win teams?
Yeah, the Deadspin article reminded me of the Orioles in the early 2000s. There's 14 years of losing, where it was we're going to sign these veterans and stick them with the cavalry, and we'll be good.
Yeah, we'll sign Vlad Guerrero or Sammy Sosa. Yeah.
Here's what I'm saying. I'm so tired of losing. Give me some fun. Give me something to cheer for.
Well, I think even this year with the losing, though, and I'm curious to see how good we're going to be, because I think we could be good, but it's going to be fun.
But you can't say we're going to be good when we don't have a third baseman, a shortstop, or a second baseman. Those are important positions.
Yeah, I'm assuming we signed a veteran shortstop.
Okay.
And I'm assuming our pitching staff takes the next step and is good.
And I'm with you. I like our pitching staff.
And I think we got a bunch of people who could play second base.
I like having Mancini back.
Yeah.
Maybe Mountcastle can move to second base. They try him everywhere else. I like Cedric Mullins. I like Austin Hayes.
Yeah, DJ Stewart, Santander.
Santander. Yusniel Diaz.
Yes, he's exciting.
I like all those guys.
Yes.
And Adley Rutschman behind the plate.
Yes.
And yes, that's a fun team. That's a team I can get excited for. Yeah. My fear is that Mike Elias is not on the same page as me for that team.
But
that's my fear.
That team was mostly here this past year. Right? Like the only guy you're adding is Diaz and Rutschman. Everyone else is already here.
And Mancini, which means you got to make room and figure out how you use Mountcastle. And and Rutschman's the best catcher in baseball. That would make a huge difference on this team.
Yeah. And it's no problem working out Mancini and Mountcastle as long as you just never think about Chris Davis. There's no problem.
Yeah, well, no, Chris Davis is there. Chris Davis is there.
He goes on the end. If anyone needs Gatorade, Chris,
Right.
we need you.
Michael Elias said he will announce new base coaches soon. Yeah. Think Chris Davis. We'll give you your same salary, but for now on, you're the third base coach.
That's the real judge of how competitive Michael Elias wants to be, based on how many starts Chris Davis has. If he starts over 60 games, the Orioles are in full tank mode.
And all right,
I can't wait. I can't wait a couple months to Josh.
When I predict Chris Davis doing well again.
Yeah, when Chris Davis has a good week in spring training.
Last spring training, Chris Davis looked awesome. Unfortunately, COVID really hurt him.
Yeah.
And he says he overworked himself is his excuse.
Yeah. He's got more excuses than everyone.
I have a problem that I keep buying into Chris Davis.
Yeah, you do have a problem.
Yes, I do have a problem. All right. Well, that's a lot more baseball than we've talked in months.
Yeah, and we didn't even get into, maybe next week we're going to talk about the Frederick Keys. Probably have some news on that by next week. And then
maybe. We do have some news out of the winter meetings. The DH rule is not going into the NHL, into the NL this year. It's not going to the NHL either this year.
Good to know.
So no DH for the National League, unfortunately.
And next week we'll also have a Rule 5 guy to talk about. I'm guessing, either a bullpen piece or another freaking utility infielder, because we got about 50 of them on the roster now.
I mean, that's generally what people let go of, so I'd go with a utility infielder.
Yeah, another Richie Martin type, perhaps.
Yep.
Hopefully more of a Santander type.
Yeah, but we got a bunch of outfielders also.
Just to have the show come full circle, Des Bryant's latest tweet. Great team win.
Great team win. He's back on.
Great team win. He's back on board.
See you guys next week.
Yeah.
You said when you and I were texting pregame, you made a prediction about this COVID test. You stick by that?
No,
you think it's a false positive?
No, I changed my mind on the false positive. But there's been a lot of this floating around.
It's who's the guy from the Nats that got screwed with the false positive?
Yeah, was that Soto? Kept on doing
Soto. Yeah. And then, what is it? Elon Musk says he took 4 in one day, two positive, 2 negative.
Yeah, that's what if I was Des Bryant, I was like, I demand a recount. Swab my nose again. Just keep on doing it until you get the result you want.
Yeah, I do feel for him that he didn't get to play against the Cowboys. But
yeah, he was pumped for it.
Yeah, and I'm sure they had a bunch of plays set up to showcase Des Bryant.
Oh, I know. And without Snead or Andrews there,
he had the opportunity.
Yeah,
instead
was in there all the time.
Well, that's because Boykin fights for the ball. Brown, you got to throw the ball into the breadbasket, or he doesn't even try for it.
Okay, but throw in the breadbasket and he'll run it 100 yards.
Yeah.
And how about that touchdown catch?
He's
that
fast.
was a sweet touchdown catch by Brown as well.
That was great. Yeah, because the pass was perfect. You throw it to him where he's got to fight for the ball. There's 2 things I've never seen Bryant do.
Brown.
Fight for the ball, Brown. Fight for the ball, and jump. I don't think he can jump for the ball either.
Well, make a good throw that doesn't have to fight for them. Do your job, quarterback.
Well, yeah, that's another issue. But it was a lot of fun to see the Ravens run tonight.
Yeah, it was a dominating win, as it should be. On to the Browns. Let's go. Stack these wins.
All right. So we're back on board with weekly episodes.
Yes, probably on Monday.
All right. Yep, back to Monday nights.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll even mix in some live shows as we get in there.
We're back, baby.
As in live on the internet, not live in person.
No, don't be ridiculous.
You and I haven't even done a podcast in person in over a year, I would think.
A long time.
Yep.
All right, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search for the show's name. You can follow me on Twitter at Section336. You can follow Josh on Twitter.
At Josh Soroka.
You can tell you. Thanks for that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Did I spell it out too much for you?
Yeah.
Slow it down?
Yeah, you slowed it down.
Hey, I need some Spotify. Hey, you don't use Spotify for your podcast, do you?
No.
All right. I need someone who subscribes to Section 336 in Spotify to send me a tweet because I've got some questions.
Okay.
Because Joe Rogan's now exclusively on Spotify, so I tried to move my podcast to Spotify, and I can't figure out how to get it to download my podcast.
We made it through the whole show, and then it just freezed on me.
I know, I saw. You finished, close it out. I'll just edit that up.
Thanks for listening, boys and girls. And as always, go O's. And go Ravens.
Thank you for listening to the Section 336 podcast. Please go to iTunes and Facebook for all complaints or the occasional compliment. If I were you, I would not take any baseball advice from these guys. Josh and Matt were raised by an Orioles-obsessed father, and Bert fell in love with Don Mattingly. He has a thing for mustaches.
Behind home plate, we bringing it to them all day. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Win or lose, we bringing it to you always. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Orange or black, we rebuild the pack. No matter where we at, you know we coming back. Section 336, we on this, so tune in. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Yeah. Welcome to Birdland. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Now, here come the boys from Section 336.